Last year in Cairns, I ran my second fastest marathon time. Now, I had done no specific marathon training. I was very fit because I'd cycled across South America and done a Ironman and various different bits and pieces. But, I'd also been in Bali and been away and been speaking and all the rest of it. So all of these things that take away from the consistency of a marathon training block. Now, I was stoked with myself on the day. I was really comfortable. I was running along at a really nice pace until about 28 Ks. And the pain started to kick in. Things started to get really hard. I thought it was a little bit early to hit the wall. But, I kept going. I pushed through till the end, even though my pace declined significantly on what it had been for those first 28 kilometers. In my keynote, I have a section about hitting the wall and how we actually managed to somehow drive through the pain cave. But recently, my podcast has hit not quite a wall, but probably been less consistent than it has been. And there's been a series of reasons for that. So technical things in Bali, forgetting, just being absolutely exhausted, coming back from Hinchinbrook Island, running and having no physical energy to record a podcast episode that day, where probably earlier in the year I would have actually pre-planned and pre-recorded something. So today I am going to record 2 episodes, not just to catch up, but to actually get some of that consistency back. And this idea of hitting the wall and the messy middle, and how the race isn't always won based on a really fast start or whatever, but it's actually won in the middle, just reminds me of 3 leadership takeaways really from this. So the first one is that consistency doesn't mean that you're a machine. You're allowed to have an off day and get back on the horse the next day. You're allowed to have a rest. You're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to say no to things. But consistency really is about how you return. So it's not about always doing the same thing, always having the perfect morning routine, but it's about how you actually return to those habits, to that accountability to yourself, to your behaviors, and to other people around you. The second piece is around the building of momentum. Now, I thought that when I went to Bali on this clinic owners retreat, and I had some time to think on some major work projects, and I did some stuff for the clinical business, but often when I go away, I am bombarded with inspiration on podcast episodes and articles and all the rest of it. Certainly in Japan, I had a ton of things that I wanted to say, and that didn't happen in Bali. And I realized that often we just kind of wait in life for this motivation to hit. Motivation is a myth. And we need to just learn to take these tiny little steps to get there. And so for me, if I'm completely devoid of, motivation or whatever, I'll go back to my framework. I'll go back to concepts I'm writing in my book. I will go back to maybe races I've done. I'll go to my Google alerts on things around ultra running or productivity or something, and just pick one tiny kernel of an idea rather than waiting for the perfect new original thought. And then the third piece, and look, this is something I say all the time, and it links into section 2 as well, but is this idea of progress over perfection. I have decided to practice more self-compassion in recent years. And actually, Kristen Neff, who has done a lot of research on this, talks about how people that practice self-compassion are more successful. Whereas if we beat ourselves up over every little thing, like if I was going to beat myself up over days that I missed doing the podcast or having to catch up or, using it as this thing to flagellate myself with, then it just becomes miserable. Whereas I set this as an endurance goal, as a way to get some of my thoughts out there, as a way to communicate every single day, to video every day. It does not need to be perfect, but it definitely is authentically me. It definitely signifies progress all the time. And, if I finish this year with 365 podcast episodes, great, awesome. If they're not all in the same calendar day or the same time zone that I'm in or whatever at the time, so be it. So I hope some of those have been helpful for you today. Something I see a lot is people, if they don't do everything perfectly in the day or the week or the month or whatever, they tend to have this thing of, okay, right, that's it, everything's failed and I'm just going to start again next week. Whereas really building that little bit of consistency, every single day, nobody expects that you're suddenly going to give up all the ice cream and all the sweet treats in one day. And that's how we often lead to failure, because we have this idea of boom or bust thinking. But what is helpful is just picking the next best small step for you, whether that's in your business, in your leadership, in your life, and taking that. That's how we build momentum, not through being these perfect, consistent, robotic little beings, but through just continually refocusing and resetting and working out what the next best step to take is. Thanks for joining, and I will see you very shortly again for more Ferment Yours.